What does it, cousins? It's Jolyn GC, the place to be, co-creator and co-producer of the Come Up series. And this is Wealth Rituals, a show about the insight, mindset, goal setting, ups, downs, miracles, moments of what am I doing, all of that on this journey called wealth. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, leisure. Why are we talking about leisure today? Because our ancestors labored enough, okay? So when I think about leisure, really it's about the third definition. If you were to go on a Google search, you would usually see about 3 different definitions, and it's usually that third one that says leisure is the opportunity afforded by free time to do something. Doesn't that just sound leisurely in and of itself? If you notice, nothing about relaxing, being lazy, not doing anything, all of that is not a part of our definition of leisure. It actually says to do something. So yes, let's get into it though. Let's break down the definition of leisure. First, it says opportunity afforded by. Pat yourself on the back because you're tuned in to Wealth Rituals. The fact that we have this opportunity to openly and freely have this conversation about leisure, point for ourselves right now, okay? So also the fact that our ancestors are the reason why we have this opportunity right now. It was their resilience and their sacrifice that led to this moment right here and right now. So shout out to all the ancestors. The other part of leisure has to do with free time. But it's like, where and how do you get to this free time? That's a good question, because at first, when I embarked on this journey, all I knew is that I didn't want to work. That's about it. I told Mark, I want to retire for the second time. I'd already retired from law, and I just wasn't interested in working. I just wanted to be able to create however I saw fit, whatever that looked like, whether it be a painting or a startup company or whatever. I just wanted to be able to be free, to be me and do my thing. And then somehow that translates into a blank check, money. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. When I was a prosecuting attorney, I just was burnt out. I did enjoy law though, don't get me wrong. And you'll notice on this journey, we probably all have had 3 or 4 different, lives, different careers, right? And that brings me to this other part, how you get to the free time. It's about knowing your value, creating value, and then investing, right? Those are the 3 things that lead us to having free time, that space and place where we are free to be. So back to what I was saying. As an attorney, free time, where? Okay, I was always at the office working 80 jillion hours a week, in trial, case files up to here, and there really wasn't any free time. There was no free time just to be me. Instead, I was an attorney. But that wasn't necessarily me. It was a function of what, I was able to do. And also, that also reminds me, let's talk about privilege. I recognize the privilege that I have as I'm talking to you all about leisure. Some of those privileges include having a strong family where I knew that if I did, fail, I knew that my family would be there to support me. So I could leave my entire life as a prosecuting attorney and just as an attorney. I could retire from that. So I do recognize that, having a supportive family, having community, that is definitely a privilege that not everybody has. And then also the privilege of being educated. That has a lot to do with, I would say, confidence, with, reading and negotiating contracts. all those things. Because when you are creating your own value, you have to put together, a contract or some agreement as you're doing business that lets people know that this is my value. Yes, I'm aware of my value. And if you want to work with me, this is what it will cost to be in the presence of all this value I'm creating. So I do want to recognize that privilege. But that aside, really knowing your own value is where this wealth journey begins to take off. And it goes back to not only knowing yourself, but once you do know your value, protecting that value. And as you are creating your value or creating value, that's where we've talked about the 730 all the time. When you know your value and you're protecting your value, there are certain things that you're not going to spend money on. Why? Because you know the value of a dollar. You know what it takes to maintain that dollar, and what it looks like for there to be more outflows than inflows and vice versa. So having that knowledge of the 70-30 is also a key part of this whole concept of leisure, especially as it relates to that second definition or the second part of the definition called free time. Then the last part of the definition, which is to do something, there's a lot of space in there. There's a lot of latitude to figure out what you want to do. But again, it goes back to knowing your value. Because when you know your value, there's certain things you're not going to do. And when you know your value, you also know that you have something worth contributing to the world, whether that's solving world hunger or ending poverty or closing the racial wealth gap. All those things have to do with you knowing your value on this journey to wealth and leisure, really. And for me personally, leisure and creativity are synonymous. That's where that to do something goes. Because within that space, there is room to do whatever you want, but you get to create what that looks like. And as long as you are contributing your gifts and talents freely, to me, that's leisure. That's leisurely. Another cool thing about leisure for me personally is that it informs all of my investment decisions. So the companies that I choose all have something to do with leisure. Whether that is making the world a better place, making the planet more, efficient or what have you. All those things, again, go back to leisure. And it goes back to creativity and innovation and all those things. Now, none of this is included in the definition of leisure. If you know me, you know that I make up words all the time. And I make up my own definitions. Why? Because I'm Jolyn GC in a place called free. As in, I'm free to be, I do what I want. And a part of that really is about creating this life that you want to lead. Especially on this side, like after you walk away, there isn't going to be someone telling you this is what you need to do on a daily basis. So you get to create it. You're not checking into a job. You're not, checking in with the manager or anything like that when you walk away in the way that I'm speaking of. You get to create and design the life that you deserve, the life that you would like to see your children have. We get to create all that. So as we're doing something, decide what that something is going to be. For me personally, it just happens to be closing the racial wealth gap. That is something that's near and dear to my heart. So what is your big thing that you want to do? Or maybe you just want to rest, because trust and believe, self-care, resting, all of that is also a part of the creative process. That's how you maintain your creative spirit. Just like that's how you maintain your wealth. Wealth, creativity, leisure, basically they're all like cousins. They're all related in some way. And I like to think of it as like a 3-point figure, like a triangle. So you have creativity, you have leisure, you have wealth. In my experience, all those things work together to create a life that I've always dreamed of, and one that I'm sure my ancestors are looking at me right now and patting me on the back, rubbing my shoulders, giving me a high five, supporting and furthering my own dreams as their dreams now. So that's what I mean when I say leisure. There are some moments, where you're able to just lean back and bask in your leisure, and that's cool too. But that's not what it looks like on a daily basis. For me, it looks like creating nonstop. I'm always creating, always. I don't think there's a time when I'm not in a creative space. Even if I'm resting, I feel like I'm resting creatively, One thing that I know for sure, leisure is not something that is earned through labor or even investing for that matter. Leisure is our birthright. We deserve to be creative and to contribute our gifts and talents freely to a world that really would be nothing without those contributions. So what do you think about leisure? Let me know. This is Jolyn GC and The Place to Be, and this has been another episode of Wealth Rituals.